Hello, everyone. Most of y'all know my name is Janae Penix Ellington. Little introduction. I'm a sophomore political science major at Fisk University. I really started protesting and becoming active with the protesting community and understanding or getting involved with my community when it comes to police brutality and stuff last year with the whole Breonna Taylor case. So it kind of urged me. I was tired of watching videos and becoming emotional and like being like, dang, like why is this really happening? Having to scroll past the video, not actually watching the whole thing because it makes me upset and feel some type of way. So I just wanted to come out last year and help and give my support to get justice for Breonna Taylor, but then also help my community and build networks. So I met Chris after a march that had happened, me and Grace, as we're always together. But we were kind of upset, very upset with the way things were going on and had been happening that week. So there was a lot of, well, we had a lot of input to give to people, and it was being disregarded, and it's like our voices were being shot down or not. They were being heard, but it was like going in one ear and out the other. And it made us frustrated and angry because it's like we sit here and listen to what you're saying, and we're trying to give advice from what we have been observing, what's going wrong, and what we feel can be right or what is needed to be done, because we keep doing these same things and getting the same results. So we try to give input on new things we could do or just how we feel, and it was just like, y'all need to be quiet type, or we're not going to listen. And I honestly feel like it is because we're younger. We're both 19, and then we're also black women, or we're a women, period, but they may look at us as girls because we're younger, but we're women, we're adults. So we need to be treated as that. And then also we felt like we weren't being protected in the way that we should be protected out here protesting. I remember one day we were being led, and when the police officer had got shot, like it all just chaos just happened, and we were looking for the leader, and the leader was nowhere to be found. So me and Grace was like trying to take the initiative to help everybody else who was also lost and trying to figure out where to go. And then it's just like, well, we shouldn't have to be picking up the, well, it's okay for us to pick up the scraps, but that shouldn't be just our responsibility. Like, we should have to pick up your scraps and then give you advice on how to fix it, and then you not listen to us. So it created a lot of anger in us, and we just had to speak out to everyone at the square. Was like, protect black women shouldn't just be a saying. Like, you should actually take action towards it and do what you need to do to protect us. And we shouldn't be out here trying to protect ourselves and then other women. Well, we should protect each other, but the men should be protecting us more than we are protecting each other. Even though black women stand firm with one another, the black men need to stand firm with us. So I was just angry that day and had to let all my emotions out and let people know how I felt. And I felt like it kind of let people know and understand how I was feeling, and I felt like they heard me that day, but I don't really know if they still listened, but they heard it. So yes. Anyone else would like to share experiences where their voices has been shot down, or they felt like they have been shot down protesting, or just protesting experience where a black woman's voice has been disregarded?
My name is Carmen Jones, and I love everything that you just said, especially about being young, because I was 23 for most of the protesting. I just turned 24 last September, and they do look at you like that. They look at you like you're a girl, like you don't know what you're talking about, like you couldn't possibly understand, or like racism for black people isn't something that we're experiencing the moment we're conceived. You know what I mean? But there's been plenty of times that you've heard not only black men, but I've heard the pick me black women of the movement also say, you know, the women down there are turning this into a feminist movement, this, that, and the third, blah, 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 blah. And like, am I allowed to cuss? Okay. I think you can speak your truth. Y'all know be real, honest. But like you hear all that shit, and it's very frustrating for me because the nuance in Breonna's case is the fact that she was an EMT working for the medical field, industry that kills black women at the same rate that police kill black men, and it's just not, it's not something that that's talked about. It's not something that you really hear. You know what I mean? Black women and black children have the highest mortality rate in the hospital, but black women coincidentally also have the highest rates of multiples. So not only are we conceiving more, but we also die more in hospitals. And I think that what Breonna's case opened up to, because Breonna wasn't the first to say her name, Sandra Bland was, and I'm really good friends with her cousin, and he was frustrated about the fact that she hardly got any recognition and stuff like that. And all you do see when you see Sandra Bland is this eerie looking police photo that's going around. There's nothing really else about Sandra, you know what I mean? And so when Breonna came out, it's showing you that not only do black women die by the medical industry, but they're also being killed by police at the same rate. We're being put in prison at the same rate as black men, but you can't say that without people saying that you're a feminist. It's like, no, I'm not a feminist, because black women are the most unwatered flower in this country. And if you don't protect black women, who's going to bring black men into the world? Who's going to do it? Who's going to do it?
Okay, I'm Geronda Majors, and some people know me as Dr. Majors, so I'm a principal, and I just want to say, for the women that are 19, for the women that are 23, 24, 25, or older, we see you, and I am so impressed by just the intelligence, the insight, all that. And so when I think about black women, especially in 2020, and being at the forefront of what we consider the Black Lives Matter movement, I'm just overjoyed, because we do live in a patriarchal society where for us, sometimes we can only be legitimized based on the standard of a man. And what you all have done, even when, you're like, is it because I'm young, or because, all those things that people discount, say, girl, you don't know what you're talking about. What you've been able to done is flip it on its head and show that I can, regardless if I'm 19, if I'm in my early 20s, I'm in my 30s, or in my 60s, in my 70s, I can hold my own and still know that I can still, regardless of my age, regardless of my gender or non-conforming expression, I can still be there for the liberation of black people. And so I just want to say, I see you. I'm just so honored and privileged to walk alongside each and every person. I said that I'm a principal for this reason, because yes, I didn't get arrested. Yes, I was out there in the street, all this stuff, and it could have gone south. I didn't know how it was going to go. I didn't know, because for a black woman in certain spaces, we feel like we have to overcompensate sometimes, because you have that perception of an angry black woman, and I am angry. It's fine with me. I mean, I take that as a badge of honor, because there's so many things to be angry about, but one says that in a negative connotation, and being in the forefront, it could have so many ramifications, so many consequences. And what I'm honored and blessed by is that there are so many people out here that says, sis, if you lose your job today, I got you. Your mother was one of those. And she was like, hey, are they trying to fire you? I said, no, it's good. She was like, hey, just let me know, because I got a spot for you. All that. And it was just, it's so beautiful. Not even, in 2020 in the summer, but even now, the sisterhood. Are we all perfect? No. I heard you say, I don't want to be around people that make me uncomfortable. But I also heard other people say, yeah, we want to scrutinize. That's the way humanity is. It's not local. It has nothing to do with ethnicity or race. It's how we are as humanity. We find, we're just trying to figure this thing out now. And, I'm kind of long-winded, but I just want to say I am just honored and blessed, even in spite of the challenges that go on in our lives as we press towards liberation, as we keep focused. Please, we got to stay focused, y'all. We have to be sisters at the end of the day. And don't let anybody tell us to shut up. I mean, you know what I'm saying? No, it's great. So that's all I have to say, is that I'm just honored, and I hear you and I see you. And I'm so glad that you all are making your voices heard. And not just that, but Ms. Mathis, I thank God for you and all the work that you have done and you continue to do, and you still out there. You still handling your business in spite of so much. And so I just wanted to say to you, thank you as well.
Well, thank you. But each generation have their way of doing things.
Yes.
And this is a generation that's not going to step back. I think my generation, as far as being more trained and more subdued to our elders, it was a different conversation. But I feel blessed to be with this generation because they do embrace you. And I'm like the Ella Baker that I'm not trying to be
Ella Baker.
But listen and be there for advice if they need it. And what by any means necessary, because I'm the liberation for my people as far as a freedom fighter. So, you know, that we learn from each other, and that's what we have to start to be, especially for us as a race, you know. And now we have too many other things that's holding us back, not to hold each other's back. And then that first preview of that the young woman who said she was out there on the film for her friend. Yes, I'm out here for Breonna, but I was out there back in the generations in 2000 when we was having these killings, and the police have never been, you know, as far as getting justice for them. Even with Michael Newby, and this Madeline is a cousin or a brother to this one that we're trying to deal with now, who's not been prosecuted, arrested, you know, for the murder of Breonna. But I know for us is that it goes beyond Breonna. And then with my niece, when she was talking about her friend, it wasn't a police case, it was someone in the community, and we just had a press conference in about the violence in our community. We can point to the police, but those in the community we do not know. It just so happened I always carry my niece with me because the day of the 14th of last year that I was downtown waiting for you all to get out of jail, not knowing that my niece had been murdered and was in the alley in the back of the Alliance, and they shot her face up, that we had to have a closed casket. So what type of humanity is that? But we had just buried her daughter that previous year, who was on her way up on a Star and 17, and they murdered her in a car, found her in a car, but her mother she persisted until she did the work of the police because they wasn't working her case. No one is working her case. I continue to say Linda O'Brien Gibson's name because her kids are living, and they say, who cares about my mother? They have a group that's called Moms of Murdered Daughters and Sons, and to go to those meetings and hear them so frustrated because they understand Breonna, but they said, we want justice. The police are not working those cases because the police are so busy targeting the protesters down there on 6th Street that they not being involved in the community. At the press conference, it was an 83-year-old woman who's been out there, Jane Grady, as far as being an activist, and I had her to come speak because she was in Park Hill and got carjacked, and the young man took the gun from the young man. That was her first instinct, but it could have been differently, and she could have been killed. But the police officer, who happened to be black, who came on the scene, and she knew him and was asking him, well, can you ride around so we could talk to somebody or something? And he dismissed her. You know, so, you know, as us, we so traumatized and we've gone through so much as far as us coming together and working together because it's institutionalized and systemic racism is killing us, you know, and we just badgering what I hate that what happened just now between you and Tia. And that was your prerogative not to go in a space that you didn't feel comfortable of because we have people coming in our community who's taking away and not giving back. And that's what we're saying. I mean, people have had collaborations and come into the community, but we as a people, we have to be cognizant of us and what's hurting us and what's building on us, and we want to build with each other, even with collaborators. I mean, King and them, they had their differences, and they came into the community. King came to Louisville because he had a brother here. He was welcome here for the Poor People's Campaign, but it's a different thing when you come to assist and not try to take over and run stuff, you know what I'm saying? So I think I feel you on that, Carmen. You keep speaking your voice, hold your voice. You're a strong, black, beautiful queen, you know, and I appreciate you, you know.
I appreciate
you know, so, you know.
I just want y'all to know that all the greatness y'all see in me is because I see greatness in my community. The only reason why I can get up every day and do what I do and say what I say, regardless of who's going to hate me, the death threats, this, that, and the third, is because my community is amazing. I have no children. I have nothing to lose but my chains, your 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 chains. You guys can't get in trouble the way that I can. Y'all got to go to school. You got to work at school. Yeah. Y'all got to run schools. They got to go to school. Y'all got to go to school. So let me do that. Let me be that. You feel me? I'm going to say everything that needs to be said. I promise y'all that. I promise y'all that. Especially when it comes to our kids, because no kids matter till black kids matter.
Grace, you want to talk about that day?
So I basically had the same feelings as Janae, because I feel like oftentimes black women are silenced, just in family, church, protests, life in general. I feel like it's oftentimes we have to take the supporting role, and nobody sees us as able to be leaders, and everybody sees us as emotional or angry or like not as trustworthy in those circumstances. But honestly, I feel like in every critical moment in my life, a black woman has came and helped me, saved me out of that situation. Yeah. So that's why I have more trust, and I think that's where my frustration came from that day, because it's so many times we would be marching and we're telling advice, we're giving advice, we're giving solutions on what the problem is and how to fix it, but nobody was listening. And it's like, okay, I don't want to continue to waste my breath, but at the same time, I want you to hear me. And I think that's what happened that day. It all got to a boiling point where it just was like, well, now I have to yell. Now I have to be angry. Now I have to show all this passion because I feel like nobody's hearing me. And I feel like they did hear us that day. And I hate that, because it's like, why do I have to yell? Why do I have to be emotional for you to understand or even try to even look my way? But when I'm coming to you in a civil manner, when I'm trying to support you, when I'm trying to build you up, but also give you advice, it's like nobody cares. So yeah, that's frustration. I feel like nobody cares. Yeah, that's the one. But yeah.
I feel like men get caught up on calling us emotional, not realizing that aggression, anger, things that are naturally
all
emotions. You know, I mean, they're the most emotional creatures there are. And I hear what you're saying as far as you shouldn't have to. You know what I mean? And I made this one post one day, and it was like, in order for you to have confidence in a revolution, because I don't have to raise my voice. And if I have to raise my voice, I'm leaving. There's no reason to have a conversation. I have gotten up from the tables of the best of them. If you're going to cuss me out, if you feel like you need to raise your voice at me, then we don't need to have a conversation. There's going to come a point where you're just going to know that, hey, I'm her. I am Ella Baker. I am Sojourner Truth. I am Harriet Tubman. You cannot talk to me any kind of way. Assert yourself. You don't have to assert yourself with your voice. Assert yourself with your energy, because y'all have it. Y'all have it. Y'all have it. I'm giving y'all roses. I'm giving them to y'all. I am shoving them in your arms, and I want you to go pass them out. Pass out confidence. Pass out love to other black women, because that's where it comes from. It's because my aunt poured into me my entire life. I got books like Richard Wright for Christmas gifts and stuff like that. I got encyclopedias as Christmas gifts because I wanted them. She poured that into me. Why wouldn't I pour that into other black women, so that they can pour into other black women who can pour into other black women who can pour into other black boys, to teach them to treat other black women right? And one thing that you have to understand is that I blame white people for everything, from the weather acting up to my man acting up. I'm serious, y'all. I'm so serious. No, for real, hear me out, okay? No, for real, hear me out. They control the weather machine. White men have taught black men how to treat black women. So even though they do things to make us mad and make us feel like we're not heard, you have to understand that they're fighting a different kind of battle. They're fighting a different kind of battle. And I'm not one ever to put black male plight over black women plight, but you will also never see me put the black female plight over the black male plight. There are things that we go through that they can't understand and they can't attest to. There are things that they go through that we can't understand and we can't attest to. I know that, and I can articulate that. Some of them don't understand that, which is why they put their problems as if, it's more important than black women's problems, because they don't understand that. We're all fighting something different from what the system has done to us. The system has attacked us as women, black women, differently than what has attacked them. But it's still attacked us. Yes. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, yes, hold firm. Your feelings are valid, but also understand where their actions are coming from, and understand that there's a lot of unlearning that has to be done for everybody. Unlearning and relearning is the name of the game, for real, which is why I have a lot of patience with the people who y'all just seen come out against me publicly. If they were, I would never work with them because you put me in danger. But if they were to come and apologize to me, I would sit down. I could be mature enough to have that conversation, because I understand that the system makes you do the things that you do. It makes you think the way that you think until you've gotten to a point to where you can say, hey, I'm gonna think for myself. I'm gonna do for my black-owned self. You know what I mean? So I understand that. I get why people lash out. I get why people don't understand certain things. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, be understanding, but at the same time, assert yourself. Don't let them walk over you. And if they do, come get me.
Carmen, I have a question. So what do you feel is a solution, not a solution, but how do we get everyone to understand that we're all suffering from different ways? We've been affected by the system. Like, are like workshops or like traumatic workshops? Because I know Cameron, I forgot his last name, but Louisville 87, he was talking about how people in the black community are suffering from trauma and like PTSD and stuff, and we don't know how to deal with it, so he wants to work with that. So what is ways that we could take the initiative on, or just take steps towards, for everyone to understand, like, we're all, well, we know we're all in this together, but I don't think mentally, like, it's really at the forefront that we're all in this together. Like, so how do we understand that we're fighting the same battle and we all been affected by the system different ways, so we got to understand people differently?
Honestly, like, that's something that I've been like talking with people since Travis has passed, is just like how to bridge that gap, because like I said, I will never try to push my experiences on anybody, but at the same time, I need people to understand that you can't do that to me either. So I really think it's a respect thing, to be honest with you, because I can give someone the respect all day long. I've done that so many times in this movie. I lead with respect first. So if you ever see me get disrespectful, just know that it was warranted. You know what I mean? But to get past it, I was talking to some black men, and these are black men who really do believe that there's this book that I'm going to try to find for both of y'all. It's called Pussy Prayers. Every black woman in this room needs to go get that book called Pussy Prayers. It's a great book, and it's a great book about self-love for black women that I feel like black men need to read too. And I've talked, just like it takes allies to teach other ignorant white people how to not be ignorant no more, it's going to take black men who are allies to black women to teach other black men how to be allies to black women, and vice versa. So there's going to have to be some black man who comes along and educates me on how to be a better black woman to a black man, so that I can then go and tell other black women, this is how you should be for black men. But then I also need a black man to come listen to me, come listen to you, come listen to everybody in this room when we say, hey, this is what we're going through. I think one of the biggest issues when we have conversations about that is that when black women open up their mouths to speak about how they feel when it comes to black men and stuff like that, there becomes this Me Too struggle. Well, what about me? What about me? What about me? You know, we saw that a lot in this movement when you see others try to attach themselves to the Black Lives Matter movement. Well, what about Spanish people? And what about Native Americans? Nobody was going to stand up for black lives until black lives did it. No one was going to stand up for black women until black women did it. That has to stop. Just like when black men open their mouths. If they get to speaking on how they feel black women treat them, let them talk. Let them talk. Hear them out. Because we want to be heard out, don't we? I think that's the problem. We always talk over each other. We'll open up dialogue like this. You'll have black men jump in and, well, what about Section 8? And what about welfare? Well, dang, homie, can we just wait a second? You feel me? Just wait a minute. Like, we weren't right there. Like, you know, you have to have people who can, like I said, we need allies, black men who will come into a space like this and they hear what we're saying. And I know plenty of black men like that who love black women, who stand with them, who believe that black men are here and please black women, who understand that it's not just a financial provision that I'm talking about. You know what I mean? There are black men who really do believe that, but they have to be the ones to go into their friend circles and their uncles and their dads and their cousins and their brothers and stuff like that, and sit down and have these hard conversations. Like, we have to treat our women better. These are the people who are raising our children. These are women who are holding our kids. They hold, and black woman thing. Life started with us. We are the mothers of the world. Every single life in this planet is our child. I call my term of endearment to anybody is my baby. Okay, my baby. I love you, my baby. I'll see you later, my baby, because y'all are my babies. Y'all are really my babies. And so when people say angry black woman this, angry black woman this, I'm not a mother, but I've seen kids come into their mother's home, the world. That's our home. The people of the world are our children. They disrespect our home. They tear our home up. Is not good enough for this, is not good enough for that. Then they turn around and tell us that us, as their mothers, we're not good enough for this, we're not good enough for that. That would make anybody angry, right? So now you see this whole turn of events going, protect black women, stand with black women, respect black women. Whenever you leave your house, you have a whole different view of your mother, I shouldn't have treated her like that. I should have did her better. I should have loved her differently. I should have listened to her. That's what's going on right now. The kids have left the house and they're realizing that they did their mother bad. We have every right to be angry. It's a righteous anger. Just remember that. When you're out there, your anger is righteous. It's righteous.
I want to touch base on what Ms. Rhonda had spoke about earlier. There's a lot of people who are older than our generation. She said we're not like letting off of the police, or we're young, we're lit, we're taking back our shit. It's kind of our chant for the generation. So I feel like we need a lot more of the older generation to be able to support us. Like Miss Rhonda, I have seen you a lot, even though you may not know who I am. I seen you, we seen each other, but like I know she's out here and we have her full support. But we need like more people her age or older or even younger than her to support us and be out here and just give us advice and guidance, because there's a lot of I feel like they like the elder thing, they want us to respect our elders, but we feel like respect is earned. So if you respect us, then we're going to respect you back. But if we come to you and you're being disrespectful, like, why should we sit there and listen to you? We come to you for advice and reasoning on what we should do, what we're doing wrong, and why is it going wrong. And we feel like we should be able to get answers out of you without having to go through all these obstacles and tunnels and stuff. So I just feel like the older generation, we need more of your support and guidance for us to create change. Because if the older generation, if they're so stuck up on gaining respect from us or trying to run stuff, like, nothing's going to change. Like, it's going to be a continuous thing. We're going to keep fighting these battles and stuff. So if we all just support each other and find ways to place each other in different roles and find what each person's strengths and weaknesses are, I feel like it's steps to get to some change and getting out of this circle or this loop that we're going in. So I don't know how to like kind of reach out to the older generation to get their support in things, because a lot of my older people in my family, they support me, but I know like they're not going to come. Well, my aunt and my grandmother passed, but they both got arrested with Martin Luther King. And that's really all the stories I have heard about them, like protesting or anything. But I know they support me. Like, yeah, I see what you're doing, Janae. You're doing good. That's great. Oh, you're going to New York. That's great. You're protesting there. I'm protesting different places and stuff. But like, what are I just want to know like what it was like during y'all's time protesting, what y'all felt was wrong or right. I feel like a lot of the older generation kept stuff into themselves and never spoke out on what they felt was wrong or spoke their emotions and things, especially black women. So I just want to like sit down with an older generation of black women and ask them and just talk to them or have this dialogue talk. Like, how do y'all feel? Like, how do you actually feel about this movement now? How is it compared to y'all movement back then? What do you feel like needs to happen? Or what are your suggestions? And go from there.
I think that's a great idea, and this is a great space to have this. Because of the pandemic, it's hard for the older people to come out. You know, with me, I know I got more years behind me than in front of me, and y'all keep me young. So, you know, so I'm covered by the blood, as they say, but I put my mask and got my shots and all that. But I think that it's important to have that type of intergenerational conversation.
Yes.
It would be very, you know, because we got some, I know like Maddie Jones and Ann Wagner, you know, but they are the generation even before me, as far as being trained, and then they would allow they kept their mouth shut as far as with the older generation back then. They did what they wanted to do, but they wouldn't talk back. With this generation, you're not going to have that. They're going to talk back, you know. So you either suck it up and keep it moving, you know. But for them, some of them, it's hard because they come from that generation. You just don't disrespect your elders. Right. But they have to realize that we living in a different time, you know. So it's not so much disrespect that people's voices is not going to allow anyone to silence them. If you can get past that, you will understand where they're coming from. You know, they got me saying, fuck do y'all. So
it's fuck 12, fuck 12.
It's fuck 12. Some ain't gonna do that, you know, so, you know, do what you do.
You like, fuck man.
Don't say nothing. But I think it would be a great idea
Yeah.
for some black women of the different age groups to come together and have that conversation.
Yeah.
Janae,
Yeah.
just so you
I
know.
was going to, well, I was just, the same thing that you just said. It would be so powerful. It may not be actually in this literal space, but to have, for you all to reach out to some of the folks that we know, like you said, Maddie Jones and others that have been really powerful and impactful in that struggle, and then have you all there as well. And when you were talking, I was thinking about humility for both sides, and framing that in a way that for those that have, in their 60s, 70s, even beyond that, in their 80s, there has to be a certain level of humility to say, let's sit down, let's talk, let's commune, let's see what I can learn from you and you can learn from me. And then on the flip side to that, we also have to have a certain level of community to receive it, because just because we think that we know, sometimes there's so many lessons to gain, and sometimes we can have like I'm in the middle, so I ain't gonna say I'm like 19, 20, you know what I'm saying? I'm like in the middle, but even with that, there has to be a certain level of humility with saying, all right, let me learn from you, sister. Yeah. Let me learn from you, sister. And I think that would be so beautiful, and then start based on the experiences, what they've learned that has worked and not learned, and based on the tenacity, the bravery, the strength of what you all have, and come up with a plan. And keep on that and lean on that, and there's strength in that. So I think that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. The other thing is that you talked about was the spirit of Ella Baker, and what she was, for those that might not be know about Ella Baker, what she did, she was good and grown. So she was with, Dr. King and everybody else, and she had to stop. She said, listen, I'm speaking out, y'all ain't listening to me. Y'all talking about you got to be a pastor of a church, you got to have this, all this me, and I keep speaking out, y'all don't want to hear me. So I want to go to the younger generation. And she was one of the instrumental people in SNCC, and people know about Stokely Carmichael, all them, Kwame too, right? And what she did, she humbled herself. And she listened. Right. And sometimes she was there for hours and allowed young people to just speak, and she helped facilitate and empower them. And that's what we have to get back to, where older folks don't say, oh, they talking about fuck 12. What they know about fuck 12? What they know about I'm lit, not for the shits. All that stuff, what they know. And to humble themselves, because we all in this together. And for those that are like, yeah, ACAT, fuck that. Calm down and listen, because we learn from our elders, we learn from the ancestors that came before us, and there's something in us, that connection to Africa. That's what they did. Sit by the tree and listen and learn, and let's learn together. And we have to get back to that. And I heard you say, Carmen, about we blame white folks for everything, but there's something to that, in the sense that many of the things that we've learned as Black people, as we've been, of course, kidnapped, taken, and brainwashed, we're going to have to unlearn that, unpack that, and get back to the remembrance of what we know and what's always been there. And unfortunately, because we've lived in such a fractured society that's been fueled by racism and patriarchy and all that, it's created division. So we have the conversations about how the Black man is supposed to treat the Black woman, but our plight is different, but we still got a plight. Mm-hmm. And we have to understand that we have one goal, and that is the liberation. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. And so when we talk about the generations, the young people, the old people, whatever the other people, the middle-aged people like myself, we still got, the goal is liberation. Mm-hmm. And how do we walk alongside each other, accompany each other to get there? And so it's beautiful that we're having this discussion. I think that would be very powerful. The other thing is, when we think about how we change the narrative, what's so beautiful about, I guess, this generation is that the use of social media and so much can be so powerful. And so when we put stuff on Instagram, and we have our TikTok videos, whatever it is, we tweet out, we Facebook, whatever social media that you use, comb through what you put in there and change the narrative to talk about mental health, racial trauma, how you want to be be treated, how we want to connect as Black people. And then people can see that and they say, oh, okay, that's what she's about. That's what, and you can teach in that way. When we have conflict with one another, we use that not as fuck this person, forget this person, but we use it as a tool to say we all imperfect and we trying to figure out how to work together. And again, it is about the liberation of our people. We got to stay focused on that. It doesn't mean you don't challenge. It doesn't mean that you don't get frustrated. It doesn't mean that you don't get angry. And sometimes you do have to yell based on your demonstration of what you do. Sometimes you do, but we cannot lose focus on the main goal. And I think going back to what you're saying about how do we change that and what do we need to do, I think it's very powerful. And I do want to hear about how it was in the late 50s and early 60s. I'm interested to learn because I don't have the remembrance. I don't have the knowledge of that other than what you see in the history books and, some folks here and there. But I think there's so many lessons to learn. And the other stuff that we ain't for the shits. I'm not going to whisper no more. And I don't apologize. So even in my little space, if you don't like it, you don't like it. And if that means that I lose my job, it means so be it. And I got to be out there with Carmen because I ain't got, you know what I'm saying? I got to do what I got to do.
Fuck
and
them
I got,
kids.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Nah, I ain't going to fuck them kids.
I'll say it for you.
Okay, I ain't going to say all that. But I'm just saying, we got to do what we have to do because that's what it's about. It's about the liberation. It's about speaking truth to power. It's about speaking out against the oppression of our people when so many times we have been conditioned because of capitalism, because of we get tied to mortgages and all the enticing things of this world. And that unfortunately has enslaved us ourselves where we're like, oh, we can't speak out because I got to pay for my baby's daycare and I got to do this and that. And I'm not taking away from that, but we also have to see if we do not talk, if we get lulled back to sleep, then we don't get progress. We don't, and that's the beauty. So I'm glad that we having this conversation. Like I said, I run it, but I think that's a great place to start. Just saying.
Yeah, as far as talking about elders and stuff like that. This whole summer, I never purposely tried to keep myself from people my age, but anytime at the square, you see me sitting on the ground, and you see Shamika, you see Tia,
how you see
Dana, you see Nicole, you see Mama Rhonda, because I know where I need to go get I know who needs to water me. It's careful who you let water you, because some people gonna try to water you with piss. I'm serious. You can't let everybody water you. That's a privilege.
Right.
Who you choose to mentor you is a privilege. My mentees, the one who picked me, like Jade, that's a privilege. That's a privilege. Because if I disrespect her and make her not feel safe, she's never going to want to come to me no more. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? But also, as far as talking about the ancestors and whatnot, they always say, if you want to put the secrets to life, if you want to hide the secrets to life from Black people, put it in a book. Mm-hmm. I ain't talking about a history book. I'm talking about autobiographies, biographies. Go read Angela Davis's autobiography and her biography. Go read Ella Brown. Elaine Brown. Elaine Brown. She was the head of the Panther Party when Huey got locked up, running stuff. So when you hear people talking about in the last movement we had Black men running it and that's why it was different. It's just history told it different. His story told it different. His story. It's her story this time. This there though, I got plenty of books. Y'all want to be put on? I can put you on.
Yes, please.
I think it's as far as re-educating our people, we have lost focus, and the European American has broken up the family, and that we have to create and take our village back. Because I was with a young lady, and I couldn't believe it with April and Chris, and they didn't know about the black jockeys or Walnut Street when it was Black Walnut Street when we had all those businesses, and it kind of befuddles me because that's on us for us to teach our own, because you go to the Jewish community, they let you know straight up, we will never let you forget. I may send them to a public school, but they're going to come back home and learn their culture and their history. So we have to do that in our communities because it's too much that our young people do not know about themselves. And I'm hurt about that because when my kids was in school, I made sure it was cultural specifically for them, and I I took it to the school. So there's some things we have to do in our homes and in our schools. We keep saying they don't teach Black history. We are Black history. So we have to take ownership of that.
Yeah, and I think, like, to that point, like, even in myself, like, my mom, she taught Black history, but at the same time, a lot of the stuff I know now, I learned by myself. And it's still so much that I don't know, but at the same time, I feel like that was a big downfall because our parents and the generation before that, it's like the story stopped. I'm not. My mom says, well, I'm sure it's because, like, at that time, our parents and their parents, that generation, like, that's the first time they were accepted into the United States society in terms of voting and jobs and trying to be better for themselves. So it's like, you don't want to lose that. So you stay quiet. You don't mention it a lot. You don't continue the stories, and they become less and less important. I feel like it stopped with this generation, and we've had to learn a lot by ourselves. And I think maybe that's why our tactics in dealing with racism are different, because it's like you taught yourself how to like be grown, I guess. Yeah.
No, that's exactly. I mean, you said it so well. That is the gap when you see in the 70s and 80s, for those that study history, that's what happens, is that you have us as Black folks, we get more education or traditional schooling, more access to colleges, universities, more access to corporations and everything else. And what happens is that in order to be accepted into particular situations, you have to deny who you are. So that's where you have that whole campaign. When I was young, code switch, and you have to dress this way, and you got to have your hair perm. And that was to their defense. It was a way of survival and a way to get access and to have a better life. But what unfortunately happened is just what you said. Being able to call out systems, being able to do that became less and less important. Those stories and what that meant and what liberation truly looks like became more misdirected. And then you have another generation that crops up and they have to figure it out on their own. And there ain't nothing wrong with that, because sometimes you need something new. But that's what I think, that's where that disconnect. And between the 70s, 80s, and early 90s, you have this period of time where folks were misdirected. It doesn't mean that other people weren't talking. It doesn't mean, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that people didn't care and we didn't have, all that. But there was that disconnect to the point now in 2020, you have younger people that are like, it's gonna be on our own terms, and we're gonna do what we want to do, and it's nice. And that's why I think, to your point, being able to bridge that gap and connect, I think is going to be so powerful. And that's what I have not seen us talk about. I think it'll be really nice. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. I lose my train of thought like really quickly.
Sorry. I know.
You're good. Give me a moment, because I did not think that I was going to be in this room full of intelligent, beautiful women when I got off work today. I didn't think that at all. I'm not too much of a speaker either, so if I get off topic, just, reel me back in if you need to. But for me, I grew up in a household with a father who kind of kept me from speaking. So now that I'm getting into my age, I will be 30 this year. Oh, God.
You old. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm trying to find my voice and find myself as a woman. So 19 years old, I mean, I couldn't even be thinking about doing what y'all are doing right now. So that's just amazing for me to even see that. So I am very thankful for that. And it's hard for you to try to find, you can't really, I guess what I'm trying to say is, when you're trying to find yourself and find your voice and you don't have the knowledge behind it to back it up, it's hard for you to try to defend yourself or try to make points because you don't have that knowledge to try to back yourself up. So I guess for me, that's what wound me up here today, is me trying to see what all is out there. Okay, I would have never even known about this until I got here today, you know. And I think that's for me, that's what I've been trying to do, is just get out here and see what's out here. And okay, yeah, Breonna Taylor, but all right, what's going on? Like, you know, all this happened last year, and I just came back into the city last year. So, you know, wow, like what's really going on here? Okay, well, this situation happened. What's going on here? Like, how do I get my family involved? Okay, they're just at home, but I want to go out here and protest too. Okay, I see all this going on. Okay, well, my friends are telling me this. Like, it's just, how do I even get to connect it to these people who are out here protesting, who know what's going on? It's just the knowledge behind it.
Yeah.
I feel like integration was one of the worst things that happened to us because it's poisonous. It really it's one of the most poisonous things ever, because if you think about it, this system was never designed for us. So the moment that we integrated, it was downhill. And what history won't tell you is that the white people who were voting for integration were voting for integrated oppression. Like, whenever you put your children into the school, the reason why we had to teach ourselves everything, I had the pleasure of my aunt being in my life and my grandmother. They made sure that I knew what I needed to know. Like I said, my aunt's a teacher though, so that's different for me. And not only is she a teacher, but she's an inner city teacher in Philadelphia. You know what I mean? So dealing with black kids and making sure that black kids, and I'm a military brat, going from country schools to hood schools to country schools, you know what I mean? And so, like, I was very fortunate to have that, but just know that the reason why they want integration so bad is because your oppressor now controls your narrative. They can tell your children that your history started in chains, not telling you that it started with civilization. And they tell you that your history ended with Martin Luther King. They tell you that the Black Panthers were a gang, not knowing that their precious WIC system they love so much came from them. There's so many things that they didn't teach you, and it's on purpose. It was literally by systemic design. Integration was the worst thing, education-wise, job-wise. It was never meant for us to climb any of these ladders, and they're mad. They are mad. They are mad as fuck that black women are leading in education, and that there are now more black men holding degrees than there are in prison. They don't like that because it was never supposed to be like that.
Right.
But at the same time, that's why you never hear me say defund the police, abolish everything, all of the systems. You never hear me say cut the checks, because it was multiple systems that did us bad. Right. It was healthcare, it was education, it was housing, it was all of these systems. I need all my money, all of it. You should have gave me my 40 acres and my mule. So just y'all dope, and please connect with me after this, because one issue that I've had is, like, because of my energy, and it's like, I'm not, like, I have good female, younger black women who are my age and stuff like that, but they're not in the movement space, and the ones who are in the movement space can get intimidated by me. It's nothing that I do on purpose. I'm just a very strong woman. But I want younger women to come be around me and my women in the alliance. My elders are not just my elders. My mentors are not just my mentors. They're not, the education, the knowledge they have is not just for Carmen Jones at all. I'm not a gatekeeper of resources. I'm not a gatekeeper of information. I don't care about none of that. I want to work with other like-minded people, and if I can give other black women a voice with my voice, that's what I'm going to do. That's my job. That's literally my responsibility to y'all. Once I found my voice, and I found my voice at a young age, I was blessed. And my whole entire life has been about empowering other people to do the same. And it's crazy when I hear women like you who say that, you know, at 30 years old, that makes me mad. That makes me want to beat up everybody in your life who ever told. I'm serious, because I wish somebody would have tried to tell me, be quiet, or don't do this, don't say that. People, what? I'll beat you up too. So I'm just saying, just like, y'all amazing. This whole room just full of amazing energy. All y'all deserve roses, and if I could afford them, I'd give to you. But I smoke too much weed to give y'all roses. So.
That's a plant. You can give it away.
Definitely give that out.
You can pass it on. Just saying.
I love y'all ladies. You ladies are intimidating because you're the biggest threat to the oppression. And like Ms. Rhonda said, y'all let up, but the white people didn't let up. So we're still fighting that, and we're still fighting ourselves. But you three young ladies already know that y'all are super special to my heart. And Geronda and I are similar in age. And I first started out walking alongside y'all, marching, saying the same shit. I'm not young. They're young and lit. I'm gonna help them take back.
Yeah, right.
Y'all are young and y'all are
grown, and
That's
I don't
right.
even know the word you can.
we grown.
I don't
we
know.
lit. We gonna get back they shit.
Hey! Yeah, that's gonna be our thing.
That's right. But I think it's important we're not the wisest of the folks out there. I think we're middle wise folks.
Yes.
To continue to learn from the elders. But I think that it's our place to support the young folks. In the beginning, I would pull Janae and be like, you need to do this. And it's like, no, we're not going to quieten them down. So now I'm the person that after they say shit at the square and everybody's like, they need to do this. No, I'm going around like, no, they don't need to shut up. We need to shut up and listen to them. So I think that that's I've found that to be my role, just as a 40-year-old, is to stand behind these young folks because they're going to be the ones carrying it on. The generation before me didn't carry it on, so I think it's my job to make sure that these young ones keep going.
I think what I love the most about our generation, and I'm the oldest generation of Gen Z, and I love being a Gen Z because at first I used to say I was a millennial until I got to this movement. Yeah, like I'm a millennial. I'm not no Gen Z. They stupid. But I got to seeing how millennials roll, and I'm like, so y'all don't want us to burn it down? Y'all don't want us to burn. I gotta wait and push laws through. Wait a minute. And so then I got to doing research on the different generations and stuff.
It was like, wait a minute. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go hang out with the cool kids because y'all are lame and boring. But yeah, like that's one thing I really love about us is that like the old generation was so concerned about what white media and what white people thought and stuff like that. Marching in 3-piece suit in Alabama heat, getting grits and hot coffee thrown on them, and still getting thrown in jail and stuff like that. While we out here like shit, you gonna call us what you call us anyway, so I might as well be a problem. I might as well be a fucking problem.
We just gonna put on a mask and goggles and
that part and get with it because it felt like Call of Duty.
Yeah, I will say, which is true, and I thank God for everybody that's been a part, whether it was 100 years ago, 50 years ago, or even now. So I love the fact that we're also talking about learning and knowledge and resource. So you talking about the books, Puss Prayer, whatever you got, the encyclopedias. I ain't trying to read all the encyclopedias.
I have so many books.
But I'm like, people actually got encyclopedias now. But you know, but all that, it starts with that learning, unlearning, and relearning, and that's a beautiful thing too. And just like Susan said, yeah, I gotta humble myself and learn from everybody, but I'll support. I'm not going to be like, don't say that. Okay, lead my sister. And and if it aligns to what my core values, I'm gonna follow you, regardless if you're 19 or you're 99. Or 49 or 59. It's all good because that's what it's about. And you know, I definitely didn't think this was gonna be this kind of conversation. I was just, like I said, I was here for food and for Janae. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, he said Janae. I was like, okay,
you know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay, I got you for that. However, what has been beautiful in the emergence of this conversation is not so much about, I guess, Black women as it relates to other people, but it's the intergenerational stuff as it relates to us. It don't have to be defined by anybody else. It's defined by us from within, and that's beautiful too.
But you know I just have to bring it in glory to God because God put people at the right place at the right time. I invited Carmen to something, and she invited me here not knowing what this was going to be. And the conversation, the way it's going with these beautiful Black queens, it's beautiful, you know. So I give him the glory.
Hey, hallelujah.
Ashe. Them too.
What you said, Ashe.
Because the ancestors definitely, they move and they work. And I'm super, super spiritual. And I remember when the protests first started, I used to be lit. Y'all talking about lit. I was lit, y'all. Couldn't tell me nothing, dog. And I felt like I really felt them walking next to me. I felt them playing their war drums. They're happy. They are elated that we're still doing this. That we're Louisville, Kentucky, ain't never seen a protest this long in their life. And they can say what they want to say about how we protest this, that, and third, but I know one thing, they ain't came down there and showed us how to do it better. They ain't. We're the reasons why people are still talking about Louisville. Breeway, nobody else. Nobody else.
That is true.
That's the reason why people are talking about Louisville, why there's still news stories going on. It's because we're the ones who keep getting arrested and beat on. We keep giving the city stories to talk about. So just remember that we really are fighting the good fight, and we've been put here. Every woman in this room, anointed, ordained, all right, divinely protected, good trouble, the best kind of trouble.
The right side of history.
The right side of history.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why I did what I did on Saturday, because things are different for us. Our kids see something different.
What happened on Saturday?
That we had a protest at the convention
Oh
center.
yeah.
I had so many teachers
With the
and
cheerleaders.
texting me, telling me, these kids be on Xbox and PlayStation, calling us all types of niggas and shit like that, cussing their
On
mamas
Twitch and whatever.
cussing their mamas and daddies up and down. Hell, fuck you, mom. They cuss better than me.
But I don't know what happened.
Tell the story. So
What happened? I don't know.
So we had a protest. Originally, it was supposed to be a car caravan, but LMPD has recently implemented this caravan task force to pick on us specifically when there's
And tow
200
and
plus
stuff like that.
unsolved murders in the city. Okay. So they've been picking on us. They had stopped us, pulled one person out by name, wouldn't let his passenger drive his car, towed his car. So we were like, okay, fine. We're just going to go back to the square. We're going to reconvene. Okay. Got back to the square, got out of our cars. We said, we're just going to march then. Forget it. When we marched down there, we were on the sidewalks. Okay, we marched on the sidewalks. Got down to that way, just regular march, didn't know nothing was going on, seen a lot of traffic. Hey, there's people here who can listen to us. So we stop at the convention center. We're on all four corners of 4th and Jefferson. And this national cheerleading convention is going on. I didn't know that it was a national nothing. I just seen a lot of, you know what I mean? Good trouble. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, so we decided to be there and protest. And once I realized it was cheerleading, I said, oh, and this one lady, what made me start saying what I was saying is this one lady said, well, we didn't know that this was happening here. What you mean you don't know about Breonna? What do you mean? That make no sense. It's your privilege to not know about Breonna. It's your privilege to not understand what's going on here. It's your privilege to be unaware. You know what I mean? So then I started saying, black mothers are burying their daughters and white mothers are taking theirs to cheerleading competitions, and they got upset. I said, you guys look so gorgeous today. You're so pretty. Your bows are pretty. Your makeup's pretty. Your hair is pretty. But you're out here because of your white privilege. The reason why you get to be out here today cheerleading is because of your white privilege.
So
and then
at a response to something that
so no, it was just a lot of people. One lady tried to come up to me and tell us like we need to stop cussing, but it's the same cuss words we use every year. No justice, no peace, fuck these racist ass police. It's the same chants we've been using. It's not like no one came up to those little girls, listen here, little whitey, you blah, 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 cuss word, beep, 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 beep. It wasn't on none of that. Didn't nobody attack those girls or nothing. Same chants, talking around them, but anytime anyone sees a black woman on a megaphone, it's automatic aggression, it's automatic anger. You know what I mean? So, but people kept saying, well, there were guns there. You took away our children's innocence. You want to talk about guns and children's innocence? Do you really want to go there? Do you want to go there? So it became this whole issue of what about the children? What about the children? What about our children? What about my babies? My babies in the diaspora, not just here in Kentucky, but what about my children? What about my babies? So I'm not caring about yours if you don't care about mine. I'm not. And they can pass this bill if they want to. I'll protest all the elementary schools for redlining my babies. There's a reason to protest everything. Everything is racist. Don't get me started, because I'll play ball.
What you said?
Yeah. And how easily they forget as far as the started integration, as far as with the schools. And then we were sending our kids out to all these schools, and the white folks would stop rocks and bottles when they get off the stage. These are black children, So
they tried to compare it to Ruby Bridges.
Yeah.
They said that me protesting outside of that thing was the same as Ruby Bridges going. Yes.
Cheerleading
Yes.
competition.
One of our council members said that. One of our council members, yes.
I think that's interesting because when when me and Janae were in high school, it was a lot of school shootings. Like it was like every week. So they started the movement,
Save the children.
Save the Children. And I remember I went outside for the little protest. And I came back in and I was pissed because I was like, I shouldn't have went outside for that, because it's like nobody starts caring until black children start. Like nobody cares until white children start dying. Right. And it's because, like what you were saying, black children are exposed to everything. Like my little cousins, I really be watching their Instagrams like, how do you know about this?
Like we were also exposed to some of that stuff
facts.
too. You know what I mean?
And it's like, it's not fair. I'm seeing my little cousins grow up in this, and they're in this negative environment around negative things and things that aren't going to help them grow as people. But I see like white children, like you said, going to cheerleading competitions, and it's a difference, but it would be an injustice for nobody to address it.
And
and they're not gonna listen unless you can't expect white people to listen if you never talk to them.
That part.
So I think it was a great idea. I think you did a good job.
I appreciate that, sis. I really do, because my whole entire thing is that, like, with the Save the Children movement, that wasn't the first time they tried it. The Save the Children movement first started whenever they realized white children and white people were the leading number of substance abuse users.
Yeah.
That's when it first started. Now all of a sudden it's all these second chance programs and these what are those places that drug people go to?
Right here.
Yeah, recovery places. But yeah,
Where I am. Where I am. What's it called?
But they started
Those what places?
all these programs, out of a response of white
Yes.
people, you know what I mean? But whenever the CIA
became a health
intentionally-
issue,
it became
not a
health
crime issue.
And now all of a sudden addiction is a disease. Wait a minute. No, it's not. No, it's
Yes.
not, Whitey. You tried it.
It's
and
not
so
a
they
crime
tried.
no
That was the
more.
first time they tried it. The second time they tried it was whenever Epstein came out and all these
Yes.
white elites came out sex trafficking these white young girls. But didn't nobody say nothing about the black girls who were going missing from 2014 to present.
Yes.
No one says anything about those black girls who they find truckloads filled of these girls. Of black girls, not just from this country, black girls who've been shipped here from other countries. They don't say nothing about that. What about our children? What about our children? They want to talk about some making laws for Kenosha killers and stuff like that, but they don't do nothing to stop the guns in our system. They drop guns and drugs off in the neighborhoods. Drop-offs, look them up. They're real. They're real. Don't talk about my
Absolutely.
children until you're ready to talk to yours. And if you're not going to talk to your children, I'll do it. As is my right.
Yeah.
As is your right.
Yeah.
Somebody got to teach their kids if they
What
not
you
going to do it.
said,
So,
what you
and if they
said.
can teach their kids, and if their kids can, if my little black boy, who's the only black boy in his class, can go to his school and his teacher talk to him about racism without asking my permission first, you think I'm going to ask permission to talk to yours? Yeah, get out of here.
Right.
It's not going to happen. By any means necessary. Liberation, because the kids start first. And if we can't talk to cops and these adults are too far gone, I'm not arguing with you all. I'm going to go talk to your kids. One thing that they showed us last year, don't play with my money, it's going to make me mad. One thing they just showed me last week, and don't play with my kids, it's going to make me mad. But guess what? Same thing with us, only we put our kids first. That's the difference between us and them. We put our kids first. Don't play with my kids, because now I'm going to play with yours.
Facts.
My cousin, he had went on Facebook Live and was talking about how white people, when it comes to their children, how they could help. And he was talking about reading and having books in their home. And he was saying that if you don't have a book that, well, you know how children books, there's always a white character or dolls that's white and stuff. If you have only books that have white characters or only give your child white dolls, like it gives them the attraction to only that image. So he was saying, like, you need to get books that have black kids in it, emphasizes black culture, teaches them about black people, and make them see black people as a person and a human rather than this I don't know how to, whatever they call us, but just give us our respect and educate them on who we truly are instead of allowing your mental or what you've been taught to teach them and give them this perception or
You're right.
yeah, our image about black people. So, and if you don't have books in your house about black people, or if you're not educating your child about black people, watching these movies with black lead roles or stuff like that, then you're doing it wrong, and that's where you're messing up. Like, it starts at home. Like, you don't have to come out. You don't have to just come out with your child and go protest. If you go protest and then go back home and watching all these white films with these white kids and reading all these white books and having them on social media with all these white people watching these white videos and stuff, like, you're messing up. So start over and start at home before you come out to a protest and then go back home. So,
And if you don't come to a protest, guess what? They're going to learn it from a protest when they accidentally run into one. So you can either start it at home or you can start it accidentally at a protest. Either way, I don't care.
But I think that also speaks to like black representation for black children too. Because my mama, that is one thing she went out of her way to do. Every book I got, every doll, even if it was white, she would color it black. Like, I had this big old Barbie cover, and she colored the entire Barbie black. And she was like, she didn't want me to see that as the beauty standard. She didn't want me to see that as, like, acceptable. And I think that's important for black children because it's so many times, like, now it's becoming more common that black people are being integrated into movies, but it's often the lighter-skinned black people. Yeah. And while, it's an accomplishment, at the same time, you got to think, like, to be a dark-skinned girl is, like, hell. because you get it from your family, you get it from outside. You don't see anybody who looks like you. So I think it's really important to, one, show different shades, and then two, to always just speak life into black children, because they are the future. And I'm sure we might not get it in our lifetime. I really hope we do. But they're the next ones who's going to pick up the baton. So I think we should just continue, focus on that, just the children.
And I think that's why it's important for us to engage the schools where our children are. Because when my kids was in school, I made sure if they had to do a book report, it was on a black person. When Black History came, I brought people in the community to be part of that Black History program. At Mazik, they thought that Mr. Mazik was a white man because they had a black and white picture beside the men's room of him. And I had Dr. Robert Douglas to do a portrait of him, and then found a man who had been trying to do a book on him in the library at the school, and the principal wouldn't allow it. That I got him to do it, and the kids, white and black kids, they ended up doing an assembly on him, visited his grave up at Eastern Cemetery. And so, but all that time, they thought he was a white man.
I can see that because he's so white.
At Mazik, and that just be so. Again, we have to take control of our history and take it wherever we can in those old spaces to let them not forget, and for our kids to know who they are wherever they are, that we are a proud people. But we got to do the thing. I mean, at Manual, I had to fall out at a school at a board meeting because they had this physics teacher who was failing black kids, and he wasn't going to do that to mine, and I knew he was wrong. I went to that because I knew it would bring attention to him by any means necessary. I fell out on purpose at the and they did an investigation.
My neck, my back, my neck,
and my that he was supposed to have been a substitute physical ed teacher. Wasn't even supposed to be teaching the subject.
Wow. You said that was at Manual?
It was at Manual.
Yeah, we went there. That's crazy.
Wow. Just piggybacking off of what she's saying, I mean, just the major things that growing up as kids, what we considered was the prime thing, like Tooth Fairy was white. Santa was white.
Yeah.
Okay, backing it up all the way highest as we can take it, Jesus. White.
Yes.
So, I mean,
yes.
Did anybody ever see that study on it was a video. I don't know if it was on YouTube.
Black girl?
It was these kids. They took them in a room with the dolls.
Yeah.
That blew my mind. And they asked these kids, what do you find was the most attractive, or which one of these dolls?
Yes.
It was the white.
It was a white one.
Yeah.
Like,
that was one of the cases for actually integration. But what you all saying is so true. Socialization at an early age, even before kids go to school, just like you said, when the Tooth Fairy is white, that's the image. When you go, if you're 2 or 3 years old, when you even go to the doctor's office to get a checkup, and the doctor is white. Representation and what it internalized. When you look at your McDonald's, you look at all the things, you see that the dollar bills, the money that you get because of the Tooth Fairy, it's white. Young people learn very quickly that to be black is not cool. To be close to African, to have African features, that is not good. To be closer to white is better. And then young people get socialized over and over and over and over and over again. So as black women, whether we're nieces, cousins, all those things, it is important for us to be intentional like your mother, whatever it is, and disrupt those narratives. And I think that as we're talking, it's really about disrupting all those narratives. Yeah. What it means to be a black woman, what it means to be a black person in the diaspora, not just in the United States, but what that looks like, what it means to be a young black woman, what it means to be someone that is aged and seasoned, what it means. We got to change the narrative, you all. And we have to learn about ourselves, and we got to be intentional on making sure that people know and we speak up. So yeah, you're exactly right. Even the images that we know are not true about Jesus, but if they're still up there and you go to your Baptist church, your Methodist church, whatever church you go to, and come on, all those images just keep reinforcing and perpetuating that racism and the oppression, and we have to cut it out, and we have to call it out. I ain't gonna say fuck your kids, but
I'll say it.
Okay, I'm gonna say, you know what, Carmen, come on.
Fuck them kids.
She gonna be my angry translator, like the Bronx. Nah, yeah. But we have to speak that and not be afraid to speak of whatever the consequences are. And I think for I'm not gonna say generations, but for decades, that has been part of the narrative. We see things that are wrong. Sometimes we have not been in position to speak up against it. I love the fact that in 2021, people are like, nah, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna say what I want to say, and again, I'm not gonna say I'm gonna burn it down. I'll ask Miss Carmen to come to the stage.
If we don't get it, burn it down.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I'll say that.
Shut it down.
I'll say shut it down. Quiet it down, guys. Okay, no, but I'm just saying. But we have to be intentional on really shifting that narrative, and it does come back to that awareness. It comes back to us unpacking the way in which we've been socialized and how it's perpetuated itself and presented itself, even when we don't think about it. So when we think about, like you said, the Barbie dolls and all those things, the Tooth Fairy and the Santa Claus and this and that, we have to say, no, that's not right. Because for my child or for my niece and nephew or my grandchildren, when they see that, that's what they think. And not just for young Black children, but for all of us. So the fact that you had to go to the national convention, whatever, the cheerleading convention.
It was the convention center, but it was a national cheerleading competition.
Okay, well, whatever it was, sometimes I'm not saying I wouldn't necessarily use those tactics. However, it is true in saying I have to disrupt. You have the privilege to go in the midst of the crisis, and you have the privilege to walk around with your lipstick when you're 5 years old and your pigtails on, and you can go and say, oh, I didn't know this was going on. Oh, I didn't know anything was going on. You have that privilege. My child, my niece, my nephew, my students, they don't have that privilege. And being able to speak against that, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. Now, again, I ain't going to say I ain't going to be like, yeah, but that's what we're talking about. That's the part of liberation where you got to push it and push it and push it and not let up to continue to get to the finish line, whatever that looks like.
I think that's important too, because my brother is a different type of character, but he doesn't come to marches, one, because he felt silence, but two, he says that we should stop saying Black Lives Matter and start saying Black Power. And I agree with that wholeheartedly, because Black Lives to Matter is
the minimum.
Not even the middle. That's the minimum. Yeah.
The bare.
Anybody can matter. I should matter just because I was born. But once you put behind Black Power, that uplifts the community. That uplifts people. That makes you feel like you're special, like you're worth something. But it's I feel like so long we haven't mattered that right now we're fighting for minimal anything. We're just looking for somebody to give us something. I feel like that might be the downfall. But at the same time, who knows? We'll see.
I do agree with that, which is exactly why I feel like what I did was necessary. Not even me, what we did, because it was the people. They wanted to go down there, first of all. I follow the people. I never claimed to be a leader. They're my leader. But that whole, the status quo, our ancestors fought for complacency laws. Ancestors, bless their hearts, love them to death. They did what they could, with what they had. Yeah. They gave us the first step. Now we got to do the second step, and hopefully that's it. But if it's not it, these kids are the ones who are going to be doing the third step. You know what I mean? Which is why we have to make people uncomfortable. Oppression isn't comfortable. So why would you think a revolution would be comfortable? Why? It doesn't make any sense. And the whole representation things and whatnot, to go back to that, it does matter, especially with these white kids, because as much as it affects us, it affects them. Like I said, I'm a military brat. I've lived in 5 different states, 4 different high schools, went to every demographic of high school you could think of. Whenever I went to my last high school, my senior year, 45 minutes from where Mike Brown was shot, I went through hell my entire senior year just because they could not understand. There was 96 of us in my graduating class. 4 of us were Black. I was the only Black student to graduate with honors, and they didn't want to give me my cord. They didn't want to give me my cord. I went through so much at that school, being a Black child, and then for them to sit there and say, well, what about our kids? What about our kids? I was a kid. You were a kid. You were a kid. who knows where you guys could have ended up had the system treated y'all differently. You know what I mean? I should not have to do this at 24. You should not have to do this at 19. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Which is why I say that it is important to lift up younger voices, because like, if the answers were there, we wouldn't be having to be out here. I should be in the club yelling A, shaking my ass.
Yeah, but I do want to just add to that our ancestors did not just fight for complacency laws. Our ancestors, we have so many that were out there in the street. There were so many that rebelled hundreds of years ago. Mm-hmm. There were so many that have pushed the line. What we see, that's on television and in black and white film, sometimes it looks like that, but I don't want us to get it twisted that we had ancestors and elders today that have done some incredible work and that were not for the shits. Mm-hmm. Were lit in whatever we said we was gonna call it. So I don't want people to take away whether this is on video, whatever. Those shirts are like, I'm not my ancestors. Mm-hmm. I'm for it. Whatever. Mm-hmm. It's disrespectful. I agree. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is disrespectful because there have been people at all levels that have resisted. Right. It is disrespectful because there have been so many people that have spoke out when they could have lost their lives or have lost their lives. Right. We have so many examples of that. So we don't want to get caught up in not looking at the history that we know that is there, that we are really on the shoulders of ancestors that are pushing us forward because they have continued the work. And I agree. They're so happy right now when we are the sum of our past experiences, but we are who we are because of our ancestors, who we are as strong people. When you think about how we were taken and snatched wherever the location was from a continent where we just minded our own business and taken and brutalized, raped, killed, all that, and to be able to survive to this right now in 2021, our ancestors had to be strong. Our ancestors did so much just to get to this point. So I'm thankful that we are the sum of not just our past experiences, but the sum of our ancestors. And you talk about those that in the Jewish community where they say those that forget the past are doomed to repeat it. And we cannot forget the past because that is what propels us to right now and to the future. And we have to make sure that we continue to celebrate that and to think about that as we are on the path for liberation, whatever it looks like.
Ashe.
Ashe.
So we've been fighting for Breonna Taylor for a year and a day now. So what are your feelings about our fight that has been going on and how the case is going, and what do you feel we have improved on, or whatever you want to talk about, just about the movement and our fight for justice for Breonna Taylor?
We be fighting a year. May 28th, she's been dead, gone, past a year. But we've been fighting for almost a year. Been 91 days now. We've been protesting. 291 days.
Sounds right.
You lose count after a while. It's been a long time, but I'm proud of us. Yeah. I think that like whenever I think about it the most, and I think about like all of my emotions, like that one emotion right there, the pride that I get from being from Louisville, from knowing you all, from fighting with you all, outweighs any negative emotion that I could have towards anybody, any organization. And I'm so proud of Louisville. I'm proud of us. I'm proud of black women, not only in Louisville, but in the state of Kentucky. I'm just proud. I'm proud of the white people who decide to stand up and to use their privilege and use their voice. I'm proud. The things that I've seen this community do, go through, shoulder. I quit my job the first day of the protest, and I've been homeless going on 15 months. And my ancestors and this community have sheltered me and covered me in a way that has allowed me to not feel my burdens and like the weight of my burdens. So I just think of how proud I am. Like, of course, y'all know I got my issues because I'm very vocal about it. But outside of all that, I'm proud. I'm proud of the city. I'm proud of everyone's efforts, even if I don't understand them, because like one thing that for me, I'm not concerned with being on the same page with black folks. There's too many of us who live differently, who have different ways about going about liberation. Like, so I'm not really concerned about being on the same page with everybody. I just want to be in the same book. Can we be in the same book? Can our book end in liberation? There's too many of us. There's too many of us. You know what I mean? So as long, like, that's why you'll never see me speak out on someone else's action if I don't agree with it, like, or if it doesn't make sense to me. It's just what it is. You know what I mean? Like, I'm happy that something's being done. Someone's making some kind of noise. I'm just proud, proud. So that's what I got to say.
I think I would agree. I feel a sense of pride. And you young ones definitely make me proud that y'all are unapologetic and y'all are brave. But I also have frustrations. I mean, the case has gone to shits. We definitely haven't gotten any kind of justice. And I also have frustrations with some of our folks that we have been walking alongside for 290 whatever days are just falling apart and losing focus. But again, I think it's the job of the wiser ones to kind of keep them glued together. So, yeah, I think we all have something to be proud about.
It's important for us to read those books because this infighting happened in the last movement. Yeah. We had people from Ferguson come down and say, look, we see it, but it's going on with us too, so don't feel bad. It happens
everywhere.
You know, it happens everywhere. Absolutely. It happened in the last movement. It is.
It's humanity.
We're not always going to agree, and you shouldn't try to force someone into your box. First of all, I'm 6'2". You're not forcing me into nothing. My box got to come special made if you need to get into a box. So, yes, like, just be your authentic self. That's all I can say. I advocate for authenticity. I do, to its purest core. I can't wait to see what y'all do with it.
Yeah, it's gonna be dope. It's gonna be dope. It's like, yeah, it's gonna be dope.
I see it, definitely.
Yeah, I agree with you all. I'm very proud because I remember, when Ferguson hit, and I was thinking like, Louisville can never do that. We can't get us together. I really did. I was like, we don't care. We have so much apathy here right now. They don't care. And I was blown away because the commitment that you and others have shown, so many people have shown throughout this time. And what it also taught me is everybody has a role to play. So just because you're not down at the square, there are people that we were blessed they brought us food. And then there were other people that say, you know what, I don't have too much, but I'm going to come down and I'm going to cut people's hair. And then people say, you know what, at 12 o'clock every day, I'm going to come and just pray. And then some other people said, I'm going to bring a piano and I'm just going to play on Saturday. I'm going to bring
that masseuse lady.
The masseuse lady.
Own it.
Ooh. And on Wednesday. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I was like, ooh, I need that. You know what I'm saying? But all that, or people that said, hey, I'm just going to prop up. I know that mental health is a challenge. I'm just here if y'all need. All those things. Kalila, I think she brought some books. And, people did. What it showed us is that everybody can be a thumb. Everybody can't be a pinky. Everybody can't be an index finger. But we are better and more powerful as a fist together. And we are showing that we can do that. Yes, it is going to shits in some ways. Yes, we're not getting all the things that we want. But if we are collective, we always use the symbol of a fist. The reason why is because there's more power when we are together. And as folks from Louisville, or even those that have come from out of town, what we've seen is that as a fist, we can make some powerful moves. And even though we may not get this passed or that passed, or see the police get convicted, and jailed and arrested, which that's what we want, arrest the cops, and put them in jail, get them convicted. However, if the byproduct has been so powerful on so many other levels, and then everybody has a part to play. And in your corner, what it also is saying, in your corner, wherever you have space, speak out, activate, do the things that you know is right. And to your point about our co-conspirators, those that are not black, or those that are not women, that have squatted up and said, all right, I'm with you, and I'll be willing to sacrifice my body. I think that's very powerful for right now.
I agree. I had so many white walls put around me because y'all know when I get on the front lines, I
Yeah.
lose like completely blue. Like I don't see.
Mm-hmm.
I see y'all keeping y'all safe behind me because if I'm in front of you, they have to get me first. Is what I see. So I don't have to pay attention to y'all if y'all.
Yeah,
behind me.
and that's beautiful.
You know, but
to
I see them
sacrifice.
get in front of me, the white folks.
Yeah.
Like, but I'll be confused. Like, why are you right here? I cannot yell.
Well, they trying to
with in
help
front-
you.
Yeah. It's like, in the way.
I know. You can't be louder than me though. But yeah, you need
Look.
I do have to go, you all. Thank you all
thank
for
you
having
for
me in
your
this space.
Thank you for coming.
Nice to meet you.
I guess we'll probably wrap it up in about the next 30 minutes or so.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Nice to meet you, Chris.
Yeah, you too. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, I want to get a picture with you, with us, before you go.
Yeah, go ahead and do the
Yeah, can we?
Yes.
Yeah. Does anybody have like a Samsung charging cable? Or like a USB-C? Well, you live in anyway.
Yeah, I am right. Can you take her?
Of course. Yeah.
Or either one, just
Yeah.
And I can take it if you want to get in with it.
Yeah, I do
Okay.
want you to get in.
Okay, cool.
Let me do it.
I'll see it on somebody.
Mine's
I'm
white.
still in one of y'all pictures.
Yeah.
Just so y'all know.
After you tagged in there. Where do you want to?
Right here. I was just going to find where the camera is.
Oh, yeah, I go wherever y'all want.
Right here. You gotta be in the front now. Try to do well. Well, yeah, you are 6 foot. Okay, I didn't even. Yeah.
My daddy is 6'8".
I put it out.
Can you even see?
Yeah, can you?
Yeah, I can see the camera.
Yeah, everybody's in. All right. Camera number 2. Y'all gotta say something.
Something! Breonna Taylor! Keep it going! Breonna Taylor!
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. Like something. Thank you. Love you. Nice to meet you, Ted. Nice meeting you. Ron, love. Oh! Don't forget.
He's like, what?
Keep doing what you're doing. Yeah. Nice to meet you. Yeah, you look cute. Whatever.